Lieutenant Maya Brooks stared at the screen in front of her, unable to believe what she was seeing. The numbers kept changing, the readings kept climbing, and nothing in her 5 years of space exploration had prepared her for this moment. She pressed her fingers against the console, checking the data one more time to make sure the computers were not making a mistake. "Captain Harris, you need to come here right now," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. Her heart was beating fast inside her chest. Captain walked across the bridge of the exploration ship Horizon's Edge. He was a tall man with gray hair and deep lines around his eyes from years of staring at stars. He had seen strange things in space before, but the look on Maya's face told him this was different. "What have you got, Lieutenant?" he asked, leaning over her shoulder to look at the display. Maya pointed at the massive object floating in the darkness ahead of them. "Sir, that structure is 10,000 times bigger than our ship. The scanners say it's older than any civilization we know about, but it's still working. All the power systems are active." Captain Daniel Harris felt a chill run down his spine. In all his years commanding ships, he had never encountered anything like this. The structure looked like it was made of liquid metal that never stopped moving, yet it held perfect geometric shapes that could only come from intelligent design. "Lieutenant Bennett, what can you tell me about this thing?" Harris called out to the science officer. Kyle Bennett looked up from his station, his young face pale with excitement and fear. "Captain, I've run the scans 3 times. The materials don't match anything in our database. The energy coming from it is stronger than a small sun, but there's no heat, no radiation. It's like the normal rules of physics don't work on whatever built this." Maya felt something strange pulling at her. It was not physical, nothing she could touch or see, but she felt it deep in her bones. The ancient structure was calling to her, though she had no idea why or how she knew this. "Commander Phillips, is it safe?" Harris asked his first officer. Lisa Phillips studied her tactical displays with a worried expression. "No weapons that I can see, sir. No shields or defenses either. But Captain, a docking bay just opened on the side of the structure. It's pointing directly at us like it knew exactly where we would be." The bridge crew went quiet. Every person there understood what this meant. Something had been waiting for them, something that knew they were coming before they even arrived. "It's impossible," Kyle whispered. "We've been running silent. There's no way it could have detected us from this distance." Maya spoke without thinking. "It didn't detect us. It was waiting. It's been waiting for a long time." Captain Harris looked at her carefully. He had learned to trust his crew's instincts over the years, and Maya had never been wrong before. He made his decision quickly. "All stations, go to yellow alert. Lieutenant Brooks, take us in. Move slowly and be ready to pull back at the first sign of trouble." Maya's hands moved across the controls, guiding the Horizon's Edge toward the opening in the ancient structure. As they got closer, the pull she felt grew stronger. Whatever was inside that thing, it wanted her there. It needed her there. The ship glided through space, its engines humming softly. The opening in the structure grew larger on the view screen until it swallowed them completely. They passed through some kind of energy barrier that made the ship's lights flicker for just a moment. Inside, the docking bay was enormous. The walls glowed with soft blue light that seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. As soon as the Horizon's Edge settled onto the landing platform, machines started to hum around them. "Captain, you're not going to believe this," Kyle said, his voice shaking. "The structure just created an atmosphere in the bay. It matches Earth's air exactly. Temperature, pressure, oxygen levels, everything. It did this in less than 2 minutes." Harris stood up from his command chair. "That's not possible. Nothing can analyze our biology and create a perfect environment that fast." "Tell that to whatever built this place," Lisa said quietly. The captain looked around at his crew. "I'm going over there. I need volunteers for a first contact team." Maya stood immediately. "I'm going, sir." "Me too," Kyle added. 2 security officers, Peter Gonzalez and Amy Chen, also volunteered. Within minutes, the team was suited up in their exploration gear, though the reading said they would not need it. They walked through the airlock and stepped into the ancient structure. The corridor ahead of them stretched beyond what their lights could reach. As they moved forward, the walls began to glow brighter as if the structure itself was waking up after a long sleep. "Stay together," Harris ordered. "We don't know what we're dealing with here." They had not walked far when the corridor opened into a huge chamber. In the center stood a crystal pillar, 20 meters tall and pulsing with inner light. Symbols and letters from 1,000 different languages floated around it in the air, most of them from civilizations that humans had never met. Maya walked toward the pillar. She could hear the others calling her name, telling her to stop, but their voices sounded far away and muffled. Her hand reached out, fingers trembling, and touched the smooth crystal surface. The universe exploded into white light. Information poured into Maya's mind like water from a broken dam. She saw civilizations rise and fall across the galaxy. She watched stars being born and dying. She understood technology that made humanity's greatest inventions look like stone tools. The knowledge came so fast that it should have destroyed her mind, but instead it felt natural, like remembering something she had always known. Then the pillar began to scan her. It read her DNA, every single piece of genetic code that made her human. Ancient computers compared her genes against patterns that had been stored for thousands of centuries. A voice filled the chamber, speaking in a language that existed before humans learned to write. Yet Maya understood every word as clearly as if someone was speaking in her native tongue. Genetic pattern recognized. Scanning complete. Origin Earth. Classification progenitor species. Authority level supreme. The symbols around the pillar changed, forming new patterns that blazed with golden light. Throughout the massive structure, systems that had been sleeping for ages suddenly came alive. Doors opened, computers started running. Weapons in a dozen different star systems powered up and waited for commands. Maya's legs gave out, and Peter caught her before she hit the floor. Her eyes opened, glowing with the same golden light as the pillar. "We built this," she whispered, though her voice sounded different, layered with harmonics that made the air vibrate. "Humans built all of this. We were the first ones. We were always the first." Captain Harris stared at her, then at the pillar, then back at his lieutenant, who now looked at him with eyes that held the knowledge of ancient empires. In that moment, he realized that everything humanity thought it knew about its place in the galaxy was wrong. They were not newcomers to the stars. They were coming home. Captain Harris wanted to take Maya back to the ship immediately, but she refused to move. She stood there in the chamber, her eyes still glowing with that strange golden light, and told him they needed to stay. The information flooding her mind was too important to ignore. "Sir, I know this sounds crazy, but we have to see what's here," Maya said. "Everything we thought we knew about humanity is wrong. This place holds the truth." Harris did not like it, but he trusted Maya. He had seen her make good decisions under pressure before. "Fine, but I'm calling Dr. Moore down here to check you out. If she says you're in danger, we're leaving immediately." Rachel Moore arrived within 10 minutes carrying her medical scanner. She ran it over Maya's head and body, frowning at the readings. "Captain, her brain activity is beyond anything I've ever seen. She's processing information faster than should be possible for a human. But there's no damage, no stress on her system. If anything, she's healthier than before." Maya smiled, though it looked strange with her glowing eyes. "I'm fine, Rachel. Better than fine. I understand now. Let me show you all what we found." She walked deeper into the structure, moving with confidence through corridors she had never seen before. Yet somehow she knew where every passage led, where every door opened. The team followed her, their weapons ready but their curiosity stronger than their fear. They entered a massive room filled with holographic projectors. As soon as Maya stepped inside, the projectors came to life. Images filled the air around them, showing Earth from hundreds of thousands of years ago. "Is that our planet?" Kyle asked, his voice full of wonder. The hologram showed a version of Earth that existed long before recorded history. Cities floated in the sky, held up by technology that looked like magic. Ships moved between the stars as easily as cars moved on roads. People lived in harmony with machines that could do incredible things. "This is humanity at its peak," Maya explained, speaking with knowledge she should not have. "Our ancestors developed faster than light travel 200,000 years ago. They explored the galaxy. They built stations and platforms across hundreds of star systems. They helped other species learn and grow. The images changed, showing the construction of massive structures throughout the galaxy. Defense platforms, research stations, gates that could move ships across impossible distances. Earth had created an empire that stretched across the stars." "I don't understand," Lisa said. "If humans were this advanced, what happened? Why don't we know about any of this?" Maya's expression became sad. "War happened. Betrayal happened. There was a species called the Khazari. We helped them, taught them, gave them technology. They became jealous of what we had achieved. They thought they deserved to rule the galaxy instead of us. The hologram showed the destruction, worlds burning, stations exploding, the great human civilization falling apart. The Khazari had launched a surprise attack, using weapons that humans had foolishly helped them build. Our ancestors knew they were losing the war, Maya continued. The Khazari were destroying everything, hunting down every advanced human they could find. So our people made a choice. A terrible choice, but the only one that would save the species. Peter leaned forward, watching the hologram with intense focus. What did they do? They destroyed their own civilization, Maya said quietly. They built structures like this one all across the galaxy and locked them with genetic keys. Only humans with pure Earth DNA could open them. Then they wiped out all traces of their advanced technology. They reduced Earth back to a primitive state, making sure the Khazari would find nothing useful when they came looking. The hologram showed the last advanced humans making their final stand. They fought not to win, but to buy time for the reset to complete. They died knowing their species would survive even if their civilization would not. They sacrificed everything, Rachel whispered, tears running down her face. Maya nodded. The Khazari hunted the remaining advanced humans to extinction. They thought they had won. They believed they had erased humanity from the galaxy, but our ancestors had planned for this. They knew that humans would evolve again, would reach for the stars again, and when we did, we would find their legacy waiting for us. Kyle was recording everything, his hands shaking as he worked. The other species think we're young. They think we just discovered space travel a few decades ago. Let them think that, Maya said with a smile that did not reach her glowing eyes. But now we know the truth. Humanity built the foundation that the galaxy stands on. The transit gates that every species uses? We built them. The laws that govern space travel? We wrote them. The technology that a dozen civilizations claim they invented, we created it first. Captain Harris processed this information slowly. So these structures, they're all waiting for humans to find them? Yes, sir. There are hundreds of them scattered across the galaxy. Defense platforms, weapon systems, research facilities, manufacturing plants. Our ancestors left us an inheritance that would let us rebuild what was lost. And the Khazari? Harris asked. Where are they now? Maya pulled up another hologram, showing the current political structure of the galaxy. They're members of the Galactic Council. In fact, they're one of the most respected species. They present themselves as peaceful, as advocates for harmony between species. They've built their reputation on promoting cooperation and understanding, using our philosophy. Kyle said bitterly, using ideas they stole from us. Exactly. The transit technology they claim to have invented, stolen from our stations during the war. The medical advances they're famous for, taken from our research facilities. Even their peace philosophy is copied word for word from human diplomatic archives. Peter checked his weapon, anger clear on his face. So what do we do about it? Maya looked at the captain. That's not my decision to make, sir. I'm just a lieutenant who happened to touch an ancient computer. But I can tell you this. The structure recognizes Earth humans as the supreme authority in this galaxy. Every system our ancestors built will respond to us now. The question is, what does humanity want to do with that power? Harris thought about this carefully. The weight of the decision felt crushing. Humanity had spent decades trying to earn respect from older species, accepting a junior position in the Galactic Council, being treated like children who had just learned to walk among the stars. Now he knew the truth. Humanity was not the student. They were the teacher that everyone had forgotten. First, we need to tell Earth what we found, he said finally. This is bigger than one ship, bigger than one crew. This will change everything, Maya nodded. Agreed. But Captain, we need to be smart about how we reveal this. The Khazari have spent thousands of years building their reputation. When the truth comes out, they'll fight to protect their position, and they won't be the only ones. Half the species in the galaxy have built their success on technology they found in human ruins. Are you saying we shouldn't tell anyone? Lisa asked. No, I'm saying we need to be strategic. We gather evidence first, document everything, make sure our claims are unquestionable. Then we present it to the council in a way that doesn't start another war. Rachel finished her scans and put away her equipment. Maya, how long will your eyes stay like that? Maya touched her face as if she had forgotten about the glow. I don't know. The connection to the archive is permanent now. I can access the information whenever I need it. The visual effect might fade or it might not. Honestly, that's the least of my concerns right now. Kyle looked around the chamber at all the holographic displays. There's so much information here. It would take years to go through all of it. We don't have years, Harris said. The moment we left the ship, the automatic system started sending reports back to Earth Command. They'll have received preliminary data about this structure by now. Within a week, this sector will be flooded with ships from every species wanting to know what we found. Maya closed her eyes, accessing the archive in her mind. The structure has defense systems. It can protect itself if needed. But you're right, Captain. We need to move fast. I suggest we download as much data as possible, take detailed scans of everything, and then head back to Earth. We need to present this to our government before the Council gets involved. Agreed, Harris said. Everyone, you have 6 hours. Document everything you can. Kyle, focus on the technical data. Rachel, see if there's any medical information we can use. Peter, Amy, scout the perimeter and map out the structure's layout. Maya, you're with me. We need to figure out exactly what this genetic lock means and how many other humans can access these systems. The team split up, each person moving with purpose. Maya walked beside the captain, her mind still reeling from the knowledge she had gained. She had woken up that morning as a simple navigation officer. Now she carried the memories of an ancient empire in her head. How are you really doing? Harris asked quietly when they were alone. Maya considered lying, then decided against it. Honestly, sir, I'm terrified. This is too big, too important. What if I make a mistake? What if I miss something crucial? Harris put a hand on her shoulder. You're not alone in this, Lieutenant. We're all in it together. And if our ancestors trusted future humans to find this, then they trusted us to handle it wisely. Don't let them down. The Horizon's Edge returned to Earth 3 weeks after the discovery. During the journey, Maya had spent every waking hour studying the data from the archive, learning about technologies and histories that should have been impossible. The ship's computers were filled with information that would change human civilization forever. Earth's government had been preparing for their arrival. The preliminary reports had caused panic at first, then excitement, then careful calculation. By the time Captain Harris and his crew landed at the main spaceport, a committee of generals, scientists, and politicians was waiting for them. Maya stood in the briefing room, facing 50 of the most powerful people on Earth. Her eyes had stopped glowing after the first week, but they still carried a depth that made people uncomfortable. She could see the suspicion on their faces, the fear of what she had become. Ladies and gentlemen, what I'm about to tell you will sound impossible, she began. But every word is true, and we have documentation to prove it. 200,000 years ago, humanity was the most advanced species in the galaxy. She activated the holographic projector and showed them everything. The ancient cities, the star-spanning empire, the technology that made modern human achievements look like toys. The room stayed silent as the images played out, showing a version of human history that no one had imagined. General Patricia Hayes was the first to speak. If this is true, if we were really that advanced, then why is there no evidence? No ruins, no artifacts, nothing in the archaeological record? Because our ancestors erased it all, Maya explained. They chose to destroy their own civilization rather than let the Khazari have it. They knew the Khazari would hunt down every advanced human, so they made sure there were no advanced humans left to find. They reset Earth back to the Stone Age. She showed them the war, the betrayal, the final desperate choice that had saved the species but destroyed the empire. Several people in the room looked sick as they watched humanity's golden age burn. Dr. Helen Price, the head of Earth's Science Council, leaned forward. The genetic lock. Explain how that works. Maya pulled up the technical data. The structures, scattered across the galaxy, are keyed to respond only to pure Earth human DNA. Not just any human DNA, but specific genetic markers that trace back to the original human population. The archive estimates that about 30% of current humans carry the right markers. So not all humans can access these systems? Asked Senator Frank Morris. Correct. The lock is very specific. Our ancestors wanted to make sure that only their true descendants would find their legacy. They couldn't risk the Khazari breeding with humans and gaining access that way. General Hayes drummed her fingers on the table. How many of these structures are there? 347 confirmed locations across the galaxy. Defense platforms, research stations, manufacturing facilities, weapons systems. Some are small, like the one we found. Others are massive, capable of producing entire fleets of ships. The room erupted in excited conversation. Senator Morris raised his hand for quiet. And the Galactic Council? What do they know about this? Nothing yet, Captain Harris said. We've kept this information classified, but we can't hide it forever. The activation of the first structure sent ripples through every sensor network in the galaxy. Other species will have detected the energy signatures. They'll be asking questions soon. Maya nodded. And there's something else you need to know. The Khazari, the species that destroyed our ancestors, they're now one of the most respected members of the Galactic Council. They've spent thousands of years building a reputation as peaceful mediators and technological innovators. She showed them the evidence of Khazari theft. The transit gates they claimed to have invented were human designs. The medical technology they were famous for came from human research facilities. Even their philosophy of peaceful cooperation was copied from human diplomatic texts. They built their entire civilization on a lie, Dr. Price said quietly. On our graves. Yes. And when we reveal the truth, they'll fight to protect that lie. The question is, how do we handle this? The debate lasted for hours. Some wanted to immediately denounce the Khazari at the next council meeting. Others argued for caution, for gathering more evidence first. A few suggested keeping the discovery secret and quietly using the ancient technology to strengthen Earth's position. Finally, Senator Morris called for order. We need a coherent strategy. Lieutenant Brooks, you've had the most direct contact with the archive. What do you recommend? Maya had been thinking about this question for 3 weeks. We go public, but we do it smart. We gather representatives from neutral species, ones that have no close ties to the Khazari. We present the evidence in a formal council session where everything is recorded and witnessed. We don't make threats, we don't demand punishment. We simply show the truth and let the council decide how to respond. That's risky, General Hayes said. The Khazari have allies. They have influence. They could turn the council against us. They could try, Maya agreed. But the evidence is overwhelming, and more importantly, every species in the galaxy uses technology that was built on human foundations. They all benefit from what our ancestors created. Attacking us means attacking the very systems their civilizations depend on. Dr. Price smiled slightly. Mutually assured economic destruction, I like it. The committee voted to proceed with Maya's plan. Earth would request an emergency council session and present their findings. In the meantime, they would begin training more humans to interface with the archive systems and start the careful process of integrating ancient technology with modern capabilities. 2 months later, Maya stood in the Galactic Council chamber for the first time. The massive station orbited a neutral world, a place where hundreds of species gathered to maintain peace and cooperation. The chamber itself was designed to accommodate all types of biology, from the crystalline Valari who communicated through light patterns to the aquatic Tauran who needed water-filled chambers. Ambassador Victoria Lang led the human delegation. She was a veteran diplomat who had spent 20 years navigating the complex politics of the council. Now she stood at the speaker's podium, knowing that the next hour would change everything. Honored council members, she began. Humanity requests your attention for a matter of grave importance. We have discovered evidence that fundamentally changes our understanding of galactic history. High Counselor Thrace of the Khazari leaned forward in his seat. He was old, even by Khazari standards, with silver skin and eyes that had seen centuries of political maneuvering. The Council recognizes Earth's request. Please proceed, Ambassador. Maya activated the holographic display. The ancient images filled the chamber, showing human civilization at its peak. Gasps and surprised clicks echoed from various species as they watched Earth's true history unfold. The Valari representative, Shard Singer, pulsed with confused colors. Ambassador Lang, this contradicts all known archaeological evidence. Humanity is a young species. Your first spaceflight was less than a century ago. That is what the evidence suggested, Victoria agreed. But the evidence was incomplete. It was deliberately erased by our ancestors to protect future generations. She showed them the war, the Khazari betrayal, the final choice that had saved humanity but destroyed everything they had built. The chamber grew quiet as the truth sank in. Then Maya stepped forward. The structures that have been activating across the galaxy are human in origin. They were built 200,000 years ago and locked with genetic keys that only Earth humans can open. We have documentation proving this, along with the original design specifications for technology that multiple species currently claim as their own innovations. She pulled up the transit gate schematics, showing the original human designs next to the Khazari versions. They were identical. She showed medical technology, weapon systems, power generation, all with the same pattern of human innovation followed by Khazari appropriation. Counselor Thrace stood up, his face carefully neutral. "These are serious accusations, Lieutenant Brooks. You are claiming that my species built our civilization on stolen technology?" "I'm not claiming anything," Maya replied calmly. "I'm showing you documented evidence. The archive contains detailed records of the war, including logs of Khazari raids on human facilities and the subsequent incorporation of captured technology into Khazari society." The chamber erupted in arguments. Species that had respected the Khazari for millennia were now looking at them with suspicion. Others demanded more proof, refusing to believe that such a fundamental deception could have been maintained for so long. Captain Harris stood beside Maya, ready to support her if things turned hostile. But she seemed completely calm, as if she had expected this chaos. "Order!" Thrace called out. "This council will maintain order." When the chamber quieted, he turned back to Maya. "Even if your evidence is authentic, it describes events from 200,000 years ago. The Khazari who committed those acts are long dead. My species has evolved beyond such barbarism." "I agree," Maya said. "I'm not here to demand punishment for ancient crimes. I'm here to establish the truth. Humanity is not a young species stumbling into the galactic community. We are the architects of the very systems that make this community possible. The recognition of Earth as a progenitor species changed everything overnight. What had been a minor member of the Galactic Council suddenly became one of its most important voices. But with that power came challenges that no one had anticipated. Maya sat in her new office at the Galactic Council headquarters, reviewing reports from across human space. In the 6 months since the revelation, Earth had activated 17 more ancient structures. Each one brought new technology, new capabilities, and new complications. Her communicator buzzed. It was Captain Harris, now Admiral Harris, after his promotion. "Maya, we have a situation. Can you come to the command center?" She arrived within minutes to find Harris standing in front of a large display showing a star map. Red markers indicated problems spreading across multiple sectors. "What's happening?" Maya asked. "Protest," Harris said grimly. 15 different species have lodged formal complaints about our activation of the ancient structures. They claim we're destabilizing the balance of power in the galaxy. Maya studied the map. Most of the complaints came from species that had close ties to the Khazari. They're worried we're going to use the technology against them. Can you blame them? We've activated defense platforms that could destroy entire fleets. We've brought online weapon systems that most species didn't know existed. From their perspective, we're becoming a threat. We haven't threatened anyone, Maya protested, not directly. But power itself is a threat to those who don't have it. Harris pulled up another report. It gets worse. 3 species have withdrawn from the council entirely. They say they won't participate in a political body dominated by a species that controls ancient superweapons. Maya felt a headache forming behind her eyes. This was exactly what she had feared. Have we responded to the complaints? Ambassador Lang is drafting a statement now. But Maya, we need to do more than just talk. We need to show them that we're not becoming the next Khazari Empire. She thought about this carefully. The problem was not just political, it was psychological. The other species had grown comfortable with their understanding of the galaxy's power structure. Humanity's sudden rise had shattered that comfort. What if we shared some of the technology? She suggested. Not the weapons, but some of the civilian applications. Medical advances, power generation, agricultural systems. Harris shook his head. The council would never accept that. If we start giving away ancient human technology, every species will demand access. We'd lose our strategic advantage within a year. Maybe that's not a bad thing, Maya said quietly. Our ancestors didn't build an empire through hoarding knowledge. They shared, they taught, they helped other species grow. That's why they were respected before the war. They were also betrayed because of that generosity, Harris reminded her. Maya could not argue with that. The archive had shown her exactly how the Khazari had turned human kindness into weakness, using shared technology to eventually destroy their teachers. Her communicator buzzed again. This time it was Ambassador Lang. Maya, I need you at the diplomatic quarter immediately. We have visitors. 10 minutes later, Maya stood in a conference room facing 3 Valari diplomats. The crystalline beings pulsed with nervous colors as they settled into their chairs. Lieutenant Brooks, thank you for meeting with us, the lead Valari said through a translator device. I am Crystal Voice representing the Valari Assembly. How can I help you? Maya asked. Crystal Voice's colors shifted to a pattern that indicated hesitation. We need to speak honestly about the situation developing in the Council. Many species are afraid of Earth's new power. Some are considering forming a defensive alliance against you. Maya felt her stomach drop. An alliance? Against us? We haven't done anything aggressive. You haven't needed to, another Valari diplomat Shardlight interjected. Your mere existence as a progenitor species with access to ancient weapons is seen as aggression by those who remember what happened with the Khazari. We are not the Khazari, Maya said firmly. We know that, Crystal Voice assured her. The Valari have always maintained good relations with humanity. But you must understand the perspective of smaller species. For thousands of years they've felt safe under the Council's protection. Now they see that protection threatened by a species that could potentially destroy them all. Maya sat down heavily. What do you suggest we do? Transparency, Shardlight said immediately. I'll let Council inspectors visit your ancient facilities. Show them exactly what you have and what you're doing with it. Demonstrate that you're not preparing for conquest. Some of those facilities contain extremely sensitive technology. Maya protested. We can't just let everyone walk through them. Then the fear will continue to grow, Crystal Voice said sadly. And fear leads to conflict. History has shown us this truth repeatedly. After the Valari left, Maya returned to Harris with their proposal. The Admiral listened carefully, then called an emergency meeting of Earth's military leadership. The debate in the war room was intense. Some generals argued that showing their capabilities would only make Earth more vulnerable. Others agreed with the Valari that transparency was necessary to prevent a coalition forming against them. Finally, General Hayes spoke up. I've been studying the archive data about the original Khazari War. You know what started it? Not human aggression, but human secrecy. The Khazari became convinced that humans were hiding weapons that could destroy their civilization. They launched their attack as a preemptive strike. The room went quiet. If we repeat that mistake, Hayes continued, if we let fear and suspicion grow unchecked, we'll face the same outcome. We need to show the galaxy that we're not a threat. The decision was made. Earth would invite Council inspectors to visit 5 of the activated structures, showing them both the defensive capabilities and the civilian applications of the ancient technology. The inspections took 3 weeks. Teams from 24 species toured the facilities, examining everything from weapons systems to medical laboratories. Maya personally guided many of the tours, explaining the technology and answering questions. Most inspectors were impressed and reassured. They saw that Earth was being cautious with the weapons, that safety protocols were in place, that humans were more interested in research than conquest. But not everyone was convinced. The Kryn delegation, a species of insectoid warriors with close ties to the Khazari, submitted a scathing report claiming that Earth was only showing them what they wanted to be seen. They argued that humanity probably had dozens more facilities hidden across the galaxy, preparing for eventual domination. They're not entirely wrong, Maya admitted to Harris after reading the report. We do have facilities we haven't revealed. Some are still being explored. Others contain technology we don't fully understand yet. But we're not preparing for conquest, Harris said. They don't know that. They're judging us based on what they would do with this power. The situation came to a head 2 months later, when the Kryn announced they were forming the Coalition for Galactic Security. 12 species joined immediately. all of them expressing concern about Earth's growing power. The Coalition demanded that Earth surrender control of the ancient weapon systems to the Council, arguing that no single species should have such destructive capability. Ambassador Lang's response was diplomatic but firm. Earth will not surrender technology that belongs to our ancestors. However, we are willing to discuss reasonable security arrangements that protect all species while respecting our sovereign rights. The negotiations were difficult. The Coalition wanted full access to all human facilities and the right to veto any activation of new systems. Earth refused, offering instead to create a joint monitoring system where Council observers could verify that weapons were not being prepared for offensive use. Maya sat in on many of these sessions, providing technical expertise about what was actually possible. She found herself walking a careful line between protecting Earth's interests and preventing a war that nobody wanted. Late one night, she was studying reports in her quarters when her door chimed. She opened it to find Counselor Thrace standing in the hallway. "May I come in?" the old Khazari asked. Maya hesitated, then stepped aside. Thrace entered and sat down without waiting for an invitation. "You're making the same mistakes my ancestors made," he said bluntly. "Excuse me? You're trying to be strong and transparent at the same time. It doesn't work. The more power you show, the more the weak species will fear you. The more you try to reassure them, the more they'll suspect you're hiding something." Maya sat down across from him. "Then what should we do?" "Choose," Thrace said simply. "Either be openly strong and accept that some species will always fear you, or give up enough power to seem safe and accept that you'll be vulnerable. You can't have both. Our ancestors tried to be both strong and kind," Maya argued. "That's why they were respected and betrayed," Thrace reminded her quietly. "By my species, yes, but we weren't the only ones who resented their power. We were just the only ones brave enough or foolish enough to act on that resentment." He stood up to leave, then paused at the door. "I've spent 300 years in galactic politics, Lieutenant. I've seen species rise and fall. The ones who survive are not the strongest or the wisest. They're the ones who understand that power without the will to use it is just a target." 1 year after the discovery, Maya stood in the command center of Outpost Sentinel, one of Earth's most important ancient defense platforms. Through the massive viewports, she watched a fleet of human ships undergoing upgrades. Their hulls gleamed with new armor plating made from materials that the ancient archives had taught them to manufacture. The transformation of human civilization had been remarkable. In 12 months, they had gone from being a minor player in galactic politics to one of the most powerful species in known space. But the journey had not been easy. Admiral Harris walked up beside her carrying a datapad filled with reports. "The first colony expedition launches tomorrow. 20 ships carrying 40,000 people to worlds that our ancestors seeded with life millions of years ago." "How many of the colonists have the genetic markers?" Maya asked. "About a third, enough to interface with any ancient systems they might find. The rest are support personnel, scientists, engineers. We're building complete communities, not just research outposts." Maya smiled. There was something poetic about humans returning to worlds that their ancient ancestors had prepared for them, going home to places they had never been. "How are you handling everything?" Harris asked, genuine concern in his voice. "You've been carrying a lot of responsibility for someone who was just a navigation officer a year ago." Maya thought about the question carefully. The knowledge from the archive was still there in her mind, vast and overwhelming. But she had learned to manage it, to access what she needed without being consumed by the weight of ancient memories. "I'm not alone anymore," she said. "We've identified 23 other humans with the right genetic markers. We're training them to interface with the archive systems. Soon humanity will have dozens of people who can access our ancestral knowledge." She pulled up a holographic display, showing the locations of all known ancient structures. Hundreds of markers glowed across the star map, each one representing a piece of humanity's lost empire. "We've activated 47 structures so far," she continued. "Defense platforms, research stations, manufacturing facilities. Each one teaches us something new about what our ancestors achieved. And what they lost," Harris added quietly. Maya nodded. The archive did not hide the mistakes that ancient humans had made, the overconfidence, the naive trust in species they helped, the failure to prepare for betrayal. Those lessons were as important as the technology. An alert chimed on the console. Lieutenant Kyle Bennett appeared on the communication screen. "Commander Brooks, we're detecting another structure activation in the outer rim." This one is different from the others. The power signature suggests it might be a central command facility. I'm on my way, Maya said, then turned to Harris. Want to see what our ancestors left us this time? The Admiral smiled. Wouldn't miss it. They took a shuttle to the coordinates Kyle had provided. The structure that appeared on their scanners was enormous, easily 3 times the size of Outpost Sentinel. Unlike the other facilities they had found, this one was not a simple platform or station. It was a complex of interconnected structures that stretched for hundreds of kilometers. What is this place? Harris breathed. Maya accessed the archive in her mind, searching for information. When she found it, her eyes widened. It's a hub, a central coordination point for the entire network of ancient structures. Our ancestors used it to manage their empire. They docked and entered the facility. The corridors were wider here, designed for large groups of people rather than small crews. The walls were covered with displays showing star maps, resource distributions, and tactical information from across the galaxy. Maya approached the main control pillar in the central chamber. Like before, it pulsed with inner light and was surrounded by holographic symbols. But this one was different. It was not just waiting for activation. It was already active, managing systems across hundreds of worlds. She placed her hand on the crystal surface and felt the connection form immediately. Information flooded her mind, but this time it was organized, structured. The hub was designed to work with human operators to enhance their capabilities rather than overwhelm them. Welcome, Administrator, a voice said in her mind. Genetic authorization confirmed. Access level supreme. All systems responding to Earth command. Maya opened her eyes and looked at the displays around her. They showed real-time information from every active structure in the network. Defense platforms protecting human colonies, research stations analyzing alien artifacts, manufacturing facilities building ships and equipment. This is the key to everything, she said to Harris. With this hub, we can coordinate all of our ancient resources. We can manage an empire that spans the galaxy. Harris looked around the chamber with mixed feelings. The question is, should we? Maya understood his concern. Power like this had corrupted species before. The Khazari had fallen into that trap, believing that their strength gave them the right to rule. Humanity needed to be smarter than that. We use it wisely, she said. We don't rule the galaxy, we protect it. That's what our ancestors intended. They built these systems not for conquest, but for stewardship. Over the next few months, Maya and her team learned to operate the hub effectively. They established protocols for activating new structures, created oversight committees to prevent abuse of power, and developed training programs for future administrators. The Galactic Council watched all of this with wary attention. Some species were impressed by humanity's careful approach. Others remained suspicious, convinced that Earth was simply waiting for the right moment to assert dominance. The Coalition for Galactic Security had not disbanded, but it had changed. Instead of demanding that Earth surrender its power, they now focused on establishing mutual defense agreements and verification systems. It was not perfect trust, but it was progress. Maya found herself working closely with representatives from dozens of species, helping them understand the ancient technology and how it could benefit everyone. The medical advances alone had saved millions of lives across the galaxy. The agricultural systems were ending famines on frontier worlds. The power generation technology was making energy abundant and cheap. You're changing the galaxy, Ambassador Lang told her during one of their regular meetings. A year ago, we were nobody. Now species are reorganizing their entire civilizations around technology that we've shared with them. That's what our ancestors would have wanted, Maya said. They didn't build this empire for themselves. They built it for the future, for all the species that would come after them. But not everyone was happy with the changes. The Khazari, in particular, were struggling to adapt to their diminished status. For thousands of years, they had been one of the galaxy's most respected species. Now they were known as the ones who had betrayed humanity and stolen their technology. Counselor Thrace requested a private meeting with Maya 6 months after the hub activation. They met in a neutral location, a small station on the edge of council space. My species is dying, Thrace said without preamble. Not physically, but culturally. Our young people are ashamed of their heritage. Other species treat us with contempt. We've become outcasts in a galaxy we helped build. Maya felt sympathy despite herself. What do you want from me? Understanding, Thrace said. My ancestors made terrible choices. They let jealousy and fear drive them to commit genocide. But the Khazari of today are not responsible for those crimes. We're just trying to survive in a galaxy that hates us. The galaxy doesn't hate you, Maya said. They're disappointed. They trusted the Khazari reputation for wisdom and peace, and finding out it was built on lies hurt them. Can we ever earn that trust back? Maya thought about this question. The archive had shown her the full scope of what the Khazari had done. The destruction, the betrayal, the systematic erasure of human civilization. It would have been easy to hold a grudge, to keep the Khazari isolated and powerless. But that was not what her ancestors would have wanted. Yes, she said finally, but it will take time and genuine effort. You need to acknowledge what your ancestors did, make amends where possible, and prove through your actions that modern Khazari are different. We're trying, Thrace said quietly. We've established scholarships for human students, funded research into ancient human history, even built monuments honoring the humans who died in the war. But it feels like nothing we do is enough. Because you're trying to buy forgiveness, Maya told him bluntly. That's not how it works. You need to become the species you always claimed to be. Actually practice the peaceful philosophy you stole from us. Actually innovate instead of copying. Actually lead by example instead of reputation. Thrace was silent for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. You're right. We've been trying to restore our old status instead of earning a new one. After he left, Maya reported the conversation to Admiral Harris. The Admiral was skeptical about Khazari intentions, but he agreed that giving them a path to redemption was better than keeping them as permanent enemies. The years passed. Human colonies spread across the galaxy, settling on worlds that ancient humans had prepared for them. More structures were activated, each one adding to humanity's capabilities. The training program for archive administrators expanded, creating a new generation of humans who could access ancestral knowledge.